As far as we know, this is the last time James Gunn and the Guardians are going to be involved in anything with the MCU. So you really have to consider the one thing, all things said and done, that this is the film franchise that got you to care about a talking raccoon and a tree being who only speaks in "I am Groot." That's pretty amazing if you ask me. That's a legacy to leave behind. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the final film with James Gunn writing and directing, and it is the culmination of the arc that he began with the Guardians in the first film. In this one, the Guardians have to take on someone named the High Evolutionary, who is this sadistic villain who wants everything to be perfect and basically create something that is truly flawless in this universe. And this starts to cause some bad repercussions, and he does have a connection to Rocket's past as well. And so this mission becomes a lot more personal, and that's our movie. That's all I'm going to say about the movie. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to give any spoilers, and this is a spoiler-free review. But one thing that I think is also to be commended, which goes back to the intro that I did, is the amount of love that James Gunn has for these characters. Throughout these three movies, that's something that has come through in spades, is how much he adores this band of misfits, these, bunch of a-holes, as they're called in the first film. And eventually, as you're seeing things happen in Volume 3, you care about it because you've gotten so much time to be invested in their stories on an emotional level. Volume 3 is really great in that regard because it really does save some of the best stuff for last when it comes to those emotional beats that the characters can bring for you. And I think that they really do excel here immensely. The cast, everybody involved in this one really does top whatever they've done before. I think some cases they are doing the best that they've done in the MCU, particularly Bradley Cooper as Rocket. Because this is so much his movie and because there is that connect, like I said, and you also get his origin story over here. The stuff that you get with him is fantastic. It's some of the best of the entire franchise that we've seen him in. And Rocket is kind of my favorite character in the MCU. I really love what Gunn did with him. I really love what Bradley Cooper did with the role, and all of those things coming together. It's just, he's a wonderfully realized character, and I think this was fantastic for, as a showcase for that. I think Star-Lord, once again, Chris Pratt is awesome. Zoe Saldana as alternate timeline Gamora, because Endgame, she's great. Karen Gillan as Nebula is such a great character because you have to really track the history with her. We started off as someone, with her as she's this, much more, maniacal character, and then eventually what she's built into has been really great. And so in Volume 3, seeing her in some scenes was really, really really great. It was a great touch to those things. And all of the other characters such as Drax, Dave Bautista is once again awesome and really, really funny. Mantis is hilarious as usual. Kraglin, Cosmo, Groot. I mean, when you look at these characters and you hear the names coming out of my mouth, it is to be remarked upon that about 9 years ago, you probably didn't talk about these characters as much. If you go to a household and you ask a kid who are your favorite characters in Marvel or DC or whatever it is that you're talking about, you hear the heavy hitters, the big players. You don't often hear Guardians of the Galaxy. But now you can ask, kids about the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you will get answers maybe that go along with that. And that is pretty exceptional. And the fact that these movies were able to accomplish that is nothing short of remarkable. Once again, Gunn does a great job when it comes to just writing those characters out. His sense of music is once again realized pretty well because Awesome Mix Volume 3 is pretty great. Although this time it's on a Zune, so you have tons and tons of songs. But the ones that are picked for the album, I thought they were done really, really well. And the needle drops, some of them in particular, really, really stood out, especially the very first one that happens in the movie, and one that is towards the end during an action sequence. Those scenes, fantastic. Speaking of the action, it is some of the best the MCU has had in a minute. There's a brilliant one-shot kind of sequence that takes place that is spectacular. It's top 5 MCU material. I would honestly say that scene was amazing. There's a lot of set pieces in this film. There's a couple of them that are really, really big. That one, however, really did take the cake. This film is meticulously done, and visually it's amazing. I would say, as far as the visual effects go, things have been a little dicey recently when it comes to the Marvel stuff, and especially with Phase 4, things didn't always look great. This is easily the best looking movie I've seen from Marvel since probably Endgame. This is a spectacular looking thing. And see it in IMAX. It's why I'm using the trailer footage from IMAX for this review. It's because this is to be seen on the biggest screen. It is using that full container. I think they really did use it to good effect over here. This film is, like I said, in all of those senses, really, really great. The stuff that you get with the High Evolutionary, I did like it. There are some one-note things to it in terms of the way he is basically just, it's driven by one thing, and there's that obsession to him. But beyond that, you don't get a ton more. There are some things that are definitely flaws in that regard when it comes to Volume 3. It actually has a few similar issues to, I would say, Volume 2. I remember when I was watching Volume 2, which I really liked, by the way, it's even since the start, I never really got some of the criticism for it. But there were some issues, for sure, and mostly those had to do with tone and some structurally messy stuff in the first act or so, and those eventually did clear out along the way. Volume 3 has a lot of that, in that there are some moments, especially in the first, chunk of the movie, which do feel a little tonally, structurally uneven. There are some things that come up that you don't often get to, have a lot of time to sort of absorb, and then it sort of cuts back and forth between those things. Like, for example, Adam Warlock shows up finally, played by Will Poulter, and while Adam Warlock is cool in the film, his whole thing at the start, there are moments which do feel a bit choppy. And those could have definitely used a little bit more refining. So it's very funny that the same issues that I had with Volume 2, some of those extend into Volume 3. However, the film does have a lot of emotional catharsis eventually in the second half of the film, and things eventually do improve so much more that by the end of it, I was quite impressed with the film. I should also mention, however, that this film is incredibly brutal. Like, for a film about the Guardians of the Galaxy, I would be remiss if I didn't say this is maybe the darkest MCU movie in ages. There are some grim things that happen in here, mostly thanks to the High Evolutionary and stuff to do with Rocket. There are some things you see which I genuinely was thinking to myself, well, someone's going to be very affected by this. Like, in the audience, it's going to make some people very, very, uneasy maybe, because they're very intense moments. And I was surprised by how much this film pushed that envelope. I mean, it's not about the fact that it's too grotesque or something like that, but it is grotesque enough that you'd think a little kid would probably see this and go, this is a lot. And I thought I should put that disclaimer out there. But at the end of the day, regardless of any of that, I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think it's a fantastic little finale to these characters. I think it brings it all together in a pretty awesome way. Some things, like I said, could have been refined and tweaked and improved upon, but overall, I am very happy with them, and I think all three movies do form a really great trilogy. I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a 9 out of 10. A solid score, a solid movie. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. And it comes out this weekend, so definitely let me know of your thoughts. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. There are going to be some things in terms of spoiler reviews maybe, and some other stuff coming up on the channel, which are going to be very exciting. I hope you guys tune in for that. As always, if you like this, guys, please do subscribe. Thank you very much once again, and I'll see you guys at the movies.